Welcome back to Build a Skatepark. Today we're going to work on something new. This will be called bowls. How to build and design a custom bowl. Of course, we are going to start simple. And I've already shown you the Follow Me feature in SketchUp. Let's start by designing just a circular bowl. Very simple. So you can get your bowl completed and just have the idea of how to create your like a round object. Let's start with the flat bottom. Press C. We're going to start in the center point, of course, or the origin. Click once, let go, let your mouse drag out. And you notice the further you drag out, you see the corners. So that's something we can fix by increasing how many corners we need. It just depends on how big you want this, of course. Remember, everything we draw here is to scale. So hit escape. Now your side's down here at the bottom, but you can't click, you can't type in there. What you're supposed to do is type a number. So there's 11. Let's try something bigger, like 30. Okay. Click origin again. And it looks the same to me. Let's try press space and then press A again. It's kind of like a reset. Now press 30 and enter. By the way, I use the numpad on my keyboard to do this. Oops, sorry. Origin. That still looks the same to me. Let's try it one more time. A, 30, enter. Oh, anyways, let's stick with like 5 foot. It's pretty good. So this is our 5 foot flat bottom. And we're not going to make a group of this because we need to be able to follow this outside line, which you cannot do with inside a group. So we'd have to explode it either way. I'm going to right click to the face and change it to reverse faces. Okay. So typically what I do here is I'm going to draw the same contour that we did to create a ramp, but we're going to do it on the outside of the circle. So let's start by creating a line, and we're going to choose the endpoint. Hopefully your endpoint lines up exactly with one of these axes, and mine seems to, even though I only did, what was it, 12 or 24. So we're going to go line, and this is going to be the depth, or how far back the ramp goes. Of course it's not a ramp, it's a bowl, but you understand. So let's go with 7. 7's pretty good. And you can adjust your camera. Now you want it to snap. You want to snap to the blue vertical axis. And how high? Let's do something small, like 4 foot. There we go. If you want to, we can create the rectangle like we always have. Because we're doing a curve, it just makes it easier. In the past, it's always been really good about snapping before you draw your next line, because you can roll your mouse over this endpoint and go up, and notice how it draws. And then you don't even have to hold shift or anything, just click. And click. Now remember how I said we don't want to connect different faces without grouping them? In this case it's okay, but there is a trick. You can triple click this guy. And that's interesting because this didn't select and it should have. Right click, make a group. So now we can draw our arch. Now again, 30, yeah, now it says 30, that's great. 30 might be too much for this curve. Let's go down to, I think 24 was good. Start at the bottom. Remember, you have to kind of eyeball where this is going to go. I think I'm going to go right to the endpoint. And then move your mouse down on this face. You don't want to snap it to the red axis like that. It's going in the wrong direction. In fact, you don't have to snap it to any axis. Just kind of watch the curve. Make sure it doesn't go below the ground. And there's our smooth ramp. If you want something steeper, it's as simple as undo, endpoint, and this time instead of going to the corner, go forward just a little. And see how it's steeper? So you're just making it a smaller curve, which makes a steeper ramp. And that's perfectly fine. Alright, now press L. We're going to go endpoint here to endpoint and just follow that rectangle back to the beginning. And now we can delete our little sketch canvas there. Alright, so we have a quarter pipe, right? Let's see if we can revolve that around this circle at the bottom, the flat bottom. So we're going to click on revolve. You have to make sure you see the dots so you know it's selected. You click once and let go. And then sometimes it'll just automatically recognize what you're doing. As soon as you put it on that circle, it knows. That's critical where you put your mouse here, because it will follow your mouse around the circle. But if you go back to where it touches and joins, you click really quick, and it fills in everything. Except for the bottom, of course. It removed our flat bottom. You get the idea. It revolved around, created a ramp. And I'll triple click it. And now you can see all the faces that we created. So as I said before, I guess it did. It did create the bottom. Just it's flipped around. But a curve is made of straight lines. And a sphere is made of faces. It's all triangles and polygons. So there's our ball. You right click. Make group. I'm going to flip this. No, you know what? I'm not going to flip that. Watch this trick. Now what's cool about how SketchUp works is you can click once and it selects the entire face. Even though you can triple click and see the faces. Just do a single click, right click, reverse faces. Because we want them all to be the wider color. Same with this face too. Reverse. Click once on the back. Reverse. And there we go. Our bowl is completed. Actually, it's not. And remember this trick, if you don't want to see this line, this is a little more difficult because it has broken up this curve into single lines instead of one line. We easily use our selection rectangle, and then what you do is hold shift, click that face in the middle, it's unselected, and notice nothing else is selected. And we can go up here to edit, hide. Now me personally, I like to see the line because it kind of marks where the flat bottom starts. And that's what you'd see in a real ball. You'd see a seam there. Of course, you'd see a lot more seams. But it just kind of gives that realistic feel. Okay, your flat bottom starts here. Well, there's one more thing we need to make. Coping. So what we should have done is made the coping before we revolved. And this could be as simple as just undoing. But you can also do it later. SketchUp is great because you can always create something on the fly later. So let's try to find that same corner about right here that follows that green axis. Right? Well, typically I would create like a little face right there, and that's a really great idea. It's not going to be connected to our group. Let's just go, I don't know, easy enough to go 1 foot. 1 foot. Snap it. And down. Right? Group it. We're just going to delete it later. Now you want to do C again. Just like we made coping previously. 30 sides is way too much. Let's do 8 sides. Actually, it seems like a little too little. See how blocky that circle is? So remember to reset, just press space and A. Typically I'd say press escape, but you're resetting by selecting another tool. Let's do 12. So weird that the preview doesn't show up there. I'm gonna start the origin here. Sorry, I was doing an arc, not a circle. That's okay. You make mistakes like that, you just go ahead and select it again. And notice as I'm moving my mouse around, it wants to click and select other axes. So make sure it's on the red axis on this face, and it's 0.1. Enter. I know, it looks way too big, but as you zoom out, it's just the right size. So this rectangle is still selected, hit delete. And we have a problem. We want it to revolve around this line on the inside, but it's in a group, and it won't follow a group. So here's my quick solution. Double click into the group. You know your group is, you're inside the group because of the bounding box. You want to rotate the camera so it is almost perfectly straight. And we're using our selection rectangle to the right. So you click on the left side, only allow the top of this bowl to be selected or inside your rectangle and let go. And then we can do shift on the face. Now you can try shift on the outside, but notice it did the same thing. It's separated this line to a bunch of small lines. So we'll do Control C to copy. Let's get out of the group. And here's a feature you might not know about. Click Edit, Paste in Place. I use this all the time. So what I'm doing is pasting those lines exactly in the same place outside the group. Got it? And since they're not touching, you can now triple click the outside and hit delete, because we don't need that. Let's click Follow Me. And you can zoom in if you want. I prefer to see the whole object so I know I can watch what it's following. Sometimes you kind of have to guess on where you're clicking, but as you can see, it's following this curve perfectly. And yes, you have to roll your mouse over every single line because it's not a circle. It's actually separate lines. Sometimes you have to redo it. No biggie. Oh, of course, I could probably just create a whole brand new circle, but I have to match that radius. I have to match each one of those lines, otherwise it won't line up properly. Why did it stop again? So yeah, this can be a little frustrating. So follow that curve all the way around. What's the trick to make it to snap together? There we go. So it's not perfect, of course. Triple click. I notice it's kind of gray. It's those normals I spoke about earlier in another tutorial. Right click, reverse faces. It's not a big deal. You can leave them gray, but I prefer using the white because that's the proper side of these faces. But yeah, that looks a little silly, right? Well, it actually kind of looks like pool coping if we had made it more sides. But you get the idea. There's your coping. There's your bowl. It's a very simple circular bowl. Save this as you want, but let's try something new. You get the idea. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use arches to create a more, peanut shape, like a pool. Now this is difficult because it's hard to know exactly how big your flat bottom is. So there's a couple ideas what you can do. You can do rectangles. And if you look down at the bottom, you can see how wide. 15 foot is a little big for flat bottom. 10 foot's good. Make it a group. I'm going to create another rectangle. Let's do like 14 by 14 is probably good. What we're doing is sketching out the peanut shape. In this case, you can easily just move it around by clicking on it. The move is M tool. You'll see that there's 4 corners, and these little grips or pluses in the sides, actually roll your mouse over it, it turns into a compass. So you can rotate it. We're not going to do that today. And now what you can do, since the groups, this arch won't stick to them. 12 sides is too small. Let's go 24. I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. So there's one arch. What's cool is now you can click on the next corner. And remember, try to keep it on this one. There's no specific axis you need to stick it to. But you don't want it on that blue axis because it's actually going downward. The hardest part about doing this is making sure this corner here is not a corner. You want it to be a smooth curve. But I'll show you how to make changes to that later on. And here's a cool feature of SketchUp. As you make curves, notice how it turns green. There's no corner here because SketchUp has made it green for us. And has figured out what angle this curve needs to be. So you don't have to have these rectangles to do this part. Okay, so I'm going to make this really bad, just so I can show you the corners. Let's get rid of these rectangles. And yes, you can select things through faces. Now, in some cases, you may want these corners. That make a nice hip. But it gets very complicated. So now we're going to do move. We're going to try to pick the center of this curve. And see how you can move just that one curve. At this point, I'm eyeballing it. You can also click on the endpoint. But notice as you change this curve, the curve at the bottom is changing, creating a new corner. That can be problematic. So endpoint. Okay, here's a problem. SketchUp selected the entire curve, which can also be a nice feature too, but I don't want to move that many. I just want to move just this one single curve here. There we go. So this takes a little bit of practice. I'm learning how to get these curves to not look like corners. I think I see a corner right here. You see that? And right now I'm doing very obtuse angles. Here's another corner because I moved this curve. And the reason why I'm using obtuse angles is because when we do our follow me, you know, it can make it very problematic later on. It's also good to use your camera angle and make sure you're not going down on accident, because sometimes you might be on the wrong axis and it'll actually curve it down. And then you have to not start over, but you have to go back and readjust. Okay, that's pretty good. If you ever want to check how far the sides are, you know, the flat bottom, you can use this tape measure. 19 feet. 26. Not too bad. Just delete, or undo to get rid of those. I kind of wish this inside came in a little more, and I could do that. You know, it's really hard to find a spot that doesn't want to select the entire curve. Let's try camera angle. No. See, it's funny, those 3 lines, it's showing the point of origin. See? Or it would be the center. I think I'm going to leave it. 26 feet is not bad this way. Sometimes it's better just to go with it instead of fighting it. No reason to keep fighting. But you know, you want a deep end. Okay, good enough. So there's our peanut shade. I still have a corner right here though. And yes, I want it to be as smooth as possible. So there's our flat bottom. So triple click, right click. Whoops, that's okay. Reverse faces is fine. Make a group. Wait, no, not yet. Remember? It cannot be in a group in order to follow this face. So here's the hard part. Where do we build our ramp? Well, it honestly doesn't matter. But as you've seen, it's easier to draw a rectangle on an edge that follows one of these axes. Right? So what if we did this? Let's draw the ramp over to the side. Just click anywhere. Shoot, we can just click right here. What was it, 7 foot? 4 foot. Roll your mouse over the edge. Go up. Whoops, notice I went too high. I slipped. Alright. Snap. When it's green, it's lined up. Snap, snap. There you go. Now we're going to do our arch. 24 sides is okay. Hopefully you've practiced this many times so you can just whip this out real quick. Let me get a drink of water. Alright, there's our bowl shape. And delete. And we cannot make it a group yet. So here's a critical point. Where do we put this? I'm going to put it right at the edge. So hopefully it follows as close as we can. I'm going to try to match that green axis. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but it actually looks really good. I just eyeballed it. And now for the final test. Will this curve of your ramp fit around the curve of this peanut-shaped bowl? So make sure you see highlighted with the dots. Click once, let go. And sometimes that happens, your mouse slips. Just undo. Try it again. I did it again. Oh, I went undo too far. So you can do Control Y to go forward. There we go. So far looking good. See how the circle's much easier. What? So sometimes you click a little early, it creates a gap. Maybe you want a gap. I don't. But you can use that to your benefit. Try that one more time. Around. And very careful where you put your mouse at the very end. And then click, let go. There you go. I'll notice it did keep a couple of lines. Not a problem. We can erase those later. But there's your peanut-shaped bowl. Shoot, I forgot to do the coping. So undo. Let's do coping real quick because it's so much easier doing it now. 0.1. Okay. Let's do that one more time. Follow me. Highlight, let go. I love this feature. Who'd want to build all those ramps side by side and connect them all? Nobody. Oh, you see what it did? That's really cool. Totally unnecessary, but it actually created a gap where that circle is. I had no idea it would do something like that. Let's do undo. You know why? That's why. It connected them. See? So it only did this piece right here. So in that case, let's make this a group real quick and we'll explode it. Oops. See what I did there? Another mistake. Everything. Was selected when I triple clicked. Let's do double click. There we go. Is that funny how it works? Sometimes double click works fine. Alright, C for circle. Click, drag, 0.1. Oops, I did a 4.1. We don't want 4-inch coping. And I'm just going to move this aside. Here's a little trick I found. You can move as long as you snap it to an axis. And you could type like, I don't know, 5 foot. Which means you can just type 5 to put it back exactly where it was. Of course, you could do a cut and paste in place, but not always necessary. Let's explode and revolve. Oop, slip of the mouse. Revolve, there we go. And here's our bowl. Perfect. So strange how it explodes these lines, so they're all single lines. Can be a little frustrating. But I found a quick way to select them by moving the camera using our select tool. Now if you don't know, notice I'm panning. See the hand? This is rotate camera. That's rotate icon. This is pan. I hold shift while hold middle mouse. Sorry I've never explained that in the past, but you can pan really quickly and then rotate really quickly. It's a great way to move around and in order to get things appearing where you want in the view that you want. So remember, we move this 5 feet away. We'll go 5 feet back. Oh, this is going to be a pain. Revolve. Kind of eyeball it. Hopefully you got that curve. If you didn't, just click again. If you didn't, click again. If you still aren't getting it, zoom in. There you go. Every line around the curve. The cool thing is more pieces to your curve ends up looking like pull coping. But I'll show you a trick on how to fix it. Just be patient, follow that curve, you'll get there. You can't go backwards too. Well, maybe not. I thought you could. It only likes to go forward. Now, I may have made a mistake here because... Are you serious? So that can happen too. You do the final click and it's like, nope. Does not begin or end extrusion. Yeah. Keep going. We'll get there. I know that final click is so critical. The good part of this is you only have to do it once you finally get it. I think you have to click right on the same face. Are you kidding me? Stubborn. I know it's me. Sometimes I'm afraid to zoom in because I don't want it to go back. But you get to see the painful process of extruding coping. If you have a better way, please post it in the comments. I'd love to see how you can create this quicker and easier. I know if those are arches that I built by myself. Yeah, something's making it undo. But I will not give up. Even if I have to stop short and do one more extrusion, or follow me. Totally cool with that. I think that the warning is just telling me there's like 400 little lines you're going to follow. Alright, I stopped short on purpose. Let's extrude this one last piece to there. Oh boy, that looks horrible, huh? Doesn't it? Okay, well, you're going to say, wait, Brian, you just created this whole coping not stuck to your ball. It is, but it isn't. You can actually select each of the faces as we did before. Hold shift, select, select. So this is another editing technique. Select. Sorry, getting a drink of water. Now what we can do is we can make a group. Let's move this out of the way. I like doing the same technique where you move it on an axis. Oh, it looks like I forgot to select one side. For this, I wanted to put it in the group, so I'm going to do cut. It's Control X. Double click in the group. Edit, paste in place. There we go. Now it's part of the group. So press M. Click anywhere on the screen. We're going to move this. Let's try, I don't know, 50. There we go. Now we can edit our coping separately from the ball. So I triple click the coping because I want to flip the faces of the gray but not the white, because the white will flip it and turn gray. But hold shift and we're going to do a left rectangle. See, click and hold, and notice it changed everything on the front and the back, every face. Right click, reverse faces. There we go. So we want to triple click again. And we can make it a group. And let's bring our ball back. Click anywhere on the screen. Make sure it's on that same axis. Type 50, enter. There we go. Looks like it has pull coping, huh? Now, if you want to get rid of that look where it has all these little separations, you can select, and let's go to our toolbar here. And we're looking for is smooth. Shadows far. Oh, soften edges. Here's a feature you may not have seen. If you click on soft edges and increase it, it gets rid of almost all of those lines for you. Now, depending how picky you are, you can manually just hide these. There you go. There's our ball. Now feel free to go in and color the flat bottom. If you want a trick on how to get rid of these lines, double click into the ball, and what you want to do is line up the camera so that they're as straight as possible, and you do the rectangle to the right. Notice I accidentally grabbed this little guy down here. You shift, unselect, check your camera view, make sure nothing else is selected, edit, hide. Sometimes it's nice to have those lines there because it's kind of like a concrete seam. You can even use those lines to do separate colors. So make sure to move your camera. Oh, I grabbed something right here. Shift. Click. Oh, okay. You could just see the line through the bottom, which is no big deal. Edit. Hide. Now, the last thing you want to do is select all of it. Right click, make a group. At this point, you can make it a component and call it 4-foot ball. Now, of course, you want a bigger ground or face around the outside. You can do the same thing. You draw a square, revolve it around. If we make a full skate park, I'll show you how to do a rectangle, We basically make the ground around it like this, and I'll show you how to cut it out so it looks like it's actually a bowl that's sunken down. But there you go. That's how to build a bowl with coping. Have fun making your bowls. Show them off.